Do you like split time down there? You're
Bam, we're
down there.
live. No sponsor.
Ah,
A sponsor. California Hormones is one of my sponsors, and so they have the owner of California Hormones has a house down here right on the beach, and she lets me jump in as much and as long as I want, and I
nice.
am beyond grateful. I am like,
Sweet.
yeah, right back there. Oh no, that's the trash back there. I forgot what's going on there. Over there. I'm like, can't you see the beach behind me? I'm like, no, that's staring back at the trash.
That's
Well, dude, you're missing a crazy ass storm up here.
Oh, that's what I heard.
Dude, it's pretty nuts. Yeah.
You are you in Carmel now, Monterey?
I mean, just till tomorrow. Then I'm down south tomorrow. I'm down in Thousand Oaks tomorrow for like the next couple of months.
I really appreciate you doing this. I know this was pulled together last minute. I know we have been. You are a traveling man, and you are a crazy, prolific, creative. And so I knew that if I was ever to land you, it was going to have to be like, you want to do it now? And you'd be like, okay.
Yeah, kind of the way it is.
And I respect it. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. I titled the video King of Keto. What do you think?
Sure, that'll piss some people off. That's good.
Perfect.
It's not meant to piss anyone off. You know what's funny? So for those of you who don't, you have to know. Everyone who's in the fitness and nutrition space knows who Thomas DeLauer is. He has an amazing YouTube station. It's an amazing resource, and it's an amazing resource because he takes a lot of complex subjects and even not so complex subjects, and he makes them palatable for the layman. But he also will start at a place that's usually a little bit more sophisticated than us average Joes can handle. So we're also learning stuff. And it's a massive library. How many videos is it? I went back to your first video 7 years ago, and I'm guessing you've culled the herd a little bit also.
Yeah, I think it's a couple thousand videos on there now. I mean, it's like I release 1 to 2 per day. So and it's full production value, man. I mean, it's not like I'm just popping that shit up with an iPhone. I mean, I've got a full production team, and it's we make it happen. Dude, I've never been that good at like fucking anything. I just know how to work hard and do a lot of shit. So it's when it comes down to that, I'm just like, okay, when I started my channel, it was like, okay, like I may not be the smart, I don't have a PhD behind my name, but one thing's for sure is I can create a shitload of content, and I'm just going to keep going because I love this stuff. And it was like, so yeah, it's a lot of content. It can be a lot for people. So I try to tell people, use it as a resource, use it as sort of a, don't follow like what I say as a coaching system. If you do, you're going to go crazy because it's designed to have practical application for all kinds of different things. And like, I'm constantly my own N of 1 experiment on different shit that I'm doing. So I try to.
Another fantastic thing, by the way. Yes, you experiment on yourself and you share your experiments, which are cool.
Today's video, actually, literally that one that says I got weak, I ate 100 grams of carbs daily. Like that is my experience on, it's a little bit of a play on word. I mean, obviously you have to have an element of clickbait to a certain degree, but it's,
your body does that. Don't worry. You don't need anything else.
That's true, I guess. Yeah. So, I mean, messing around with that, it's like, always a level of self-experimentation and sort of reverse engineering what happened. And, and then I try to put a fair bit of content out there for a lot of my audience is metabolically deranged, right? People that are having metabolic issues. And so even though people look at me and they think, oh, this is going to be a fitness channel. I mean, it's really geared towards the average person that is like maybe a little more into like understanding what's happening in their body. So they're already going to be possibly a little bit more of an educated audience just because they're like people that are, hey, I want to know the why, like why is something happening in my body? They don't just want the, hey, give me the answers and go away. Like TikTok's not for me. I'm not that style. I want to explain to people that want to learn.
But that being said, it's quick. Like you can go on there you have everything on there. I get up in the middle of the night and pee, answer questions. What do you think about caffeine? There's questions. I have autoimmune disease. You have questions. Hey, I want to put on a mask. What's the fastest way to do it? I have answers. Can I do keto and carb? Both go back and forth. I mean, it is a full library. It's comprehensive. No one should get confused and listen to him if he's selling himself short. And I want to tell you something else. He's not trapped in the vernacular or the semantics of the PhD, but he has all of their knowledge and can bring it to you. And so it's really good.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Really, that's the highest form of compliment that I could have. Because like, I'm not trying to be a PhD. I'm not trying to be a doctor. I'm not trying to be an expert. I really am just good at translating complex subject matter. It's only because I'm passionate about it. If I wasn't into it myself and wasn't experimenting this shit on my own, like it would just be lip service and the channel wouldn't grow because the passion wouldn't shine through. You know, this is just, it's fun.
How old are you? 34. God, oh my God, 34. That's when I found CrossFit, when I was 34.
Oh my, so there's hope for me.
You've surpassed hope. You are the hope. And where were you born?
Gotta remember, I was born in Santa Rosa. Grew up in Sonoma, up in the North Bay.
Okay. Oh shit. So you're a bit kind of I was a little more Bay Area. I was born in Oakland, California, but so you're home. You haven't wandered far.
No. Well, I mean, I've been all over the place. I lived in Texas for a while, lived in Southern California, lived in Tahoe before, and I still live part of the time in Tahoe now. So I've kind of bounced around all over the place. But yeah, my dad's our family business was in Oakland, 13th and Broadway, growing up. So it's been a lot of time there.
No. What was the family business?
It's called DeLauer's Super Newsstand. It was like a large. It's still there. It's like it was the world's largest newsstand. So it was newspapers, books, magazines from all over the world. They'd get them like the next day. So the reason it was such a big spot is not because it was a newsstand, but because it was the only place in the country that would get newspapers and magazines from all over the world the next day after they were released. So it ended up becoming sort of a cultural melting pot in Oakland, where it would just bring like everyone from Palestine, from Nigeria, and everything together, because this is where they could read their daily news for what was going on back home. So it was a really cool thing. So I grew up in like a very like melting pot, culturally diverse, like just background, right? So it's kind of interesting because I kind of grew up with media and publishing and understanding how it worked. It's kind of funny how I kind of ended up in that anyway.
Show me the front. I want to see the place. I know that area very, very, very well. There was a Capwells down there. It may have been after your time. Do you remember the Emporium Capwells?
Yeah, it was right by Jack London Square, like right across the street from where the Golden State Warriors like head office was.
What year were you born?
88.
Oh, so you missed the earthquake. Yeah.
It burnt, the newsstand burnt down in 89 and rebuilt it. Yeah.
No shit. Okay, yeah, because I remember that area got crushed.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. Wow, fantastic. Okay, so your dad commuted there from Santa Rosa?
From Sonoma, so it was a little under an hour. Yeah, it was a grind.
And did you work there as a kid?
Yeah. He used to a little child labor, for sure.
Yeah, of course. And your mom, you raised with your mom and your dad, or your dad just raised you exclusively? Or?
No, it was my mom and my dad. My parents divorced when I was a little before 13. Wasn't the prettiest situation. And then I chose to live with my mom because I could. There's a lot that I can say there, but I just, out of respect for my mom, I kind of won't go there. But it was like, I basically kind of raised myself after 13. So it was a lot of, my mom was kind of having some hard times. So I ended up going into kind of homeschooling after 13, or independent study, and was working full time as well. So it was like, because I really just needed to kind of help out. So kind of grew up pretty darn quick. But other than that, like before that, my childhood was normal as far as the family dynamics concerned, but it was very, very, very different otherwise. Like the things we did were very, very, very different. My mom would just random little things that you wouldn't think are much, but like my mom would just come pull me out of school and be like, "Yeah, you're not going to go to school today. Like we're going to go run a marathon or something." Like, it's just like,
oh shit, like that. You mean like at 10, even like third grade?
I ran my first marathon when I was 11, but they don't usually conduct marathons on school days. But it was like that kind of stuff, right? It was like, "Hey, I want to go hiking today. We should go hike out to the coast. You want to go to Point Reyes? I'm going to pull you and your sister out of school." Whereas all the other kids are like, "What the heck?" Thomas is, "I'm sick. Okay, yeah, I got to go home." But it's really, my mom was just like, no, like kind of to a certain degree. She was like, "Fuck school. Like you're going to learn more in the real world."
Was she a hippie? Is your mom a hippie?
Oh God, she was a hippie. Yeah. Hardcore hippie. And she might have denied it when I was a kid. And if somehow this circles around and she finds it, she'll probably get pissed off at me. But she's, I think, a hippie in a cool way. Like she was totally. Yeah.
Of course. It was a cool thing to be back then, especially in that area. How old were you when you did the Dipsy? Do you remember that?
Oh shit, man.
Like I did it when I was 35.
Yeah,
Did you do it when you were like 7?
No, I didn't do the.
And I walked it.
Yeah, I did the double dipsy, but I think I was like 14. I think like I didn't do
the doubles. You walk there and back, right? That's what I did, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that the double
up and over?
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, it was a training run for me all the time. But the actual formal race, I think I didn't do until I was like 14 or 15. But that was like well into my cross country career. But other than that, like I ran my first 10K when I was 5. So it was like I was always a runner. Like it was just like I still am. Like I default to. If people always ask me, I was just hanging out with Mark Bell this week. I was filming with Derek, More Plates, More Dates, and
where was that at? Where did you film with him?
Up in Sacramento.
Is he up there? Derek is?
Mark is. Derek's in Canada. He's up in Vancouver.
Oh, so he just happened to be down there. So you went up there and you're like,
he had a little media tour after the Liver King thing. So it was like we were talking about that with Mark. We were like, Mark was like, hey, well, because Mark's into running right now. If you guys, Mark's an interesting cat. Like, honestly, people have what they have to say about him, but he's probably
I love him.
He's one of the coolest people, probably one of my closest friends.
I love him.
Now. Yeah, he's like, would you rather lift or would you rather run if you had to pick one? And it was run. I would rather run. I mean, I think in this world, you have runners and you have lifters. And I'm a runner that became a lifter. And then there's lifters that become runners. But, it is what it is.
I want to go back to the dipsy, but before I want to ask you this about running and lifting. It's all where was that your stomach I just heard, or is that Susan's stomach? I heard someone's stomach.
It might have been like this, like.
Oh, I heard a stomach.
I bet you get snapped around quick.
It's mental health stuff, not in the traditional term that it's used today, like is in like you have mental health issues, but it's. The activity you like is what gives you like sort of the peace of mind, right?
Oh, 100%.
So you like running because of the sort of it's more than physical. It's the state it puts you in, right? Where someone who lifts, they like the state that puts them in. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, it's the state. And if you want to go deep, I mean, you know me enough to know that I'm
always
pretty psychoanalytical with this stuff. I feel like when I was a kid, running is how I got the attention of my mother. Running is how I got my love, right? So for me, when I'm not able to run, and it happens with injuries, like I have L4, L5, L5S1 ruptured discs. So it's like, yeah, it takes a little bit of, willpower sometimes getting myself in the mood to run. But I feel like if I'm not running, I'm not getting the satisfaction. It's like, that was how I earned love. Not that my mom didn't love me, but that was the love language, was going out and running. And
right.
So if I'm not running, I feel like I'm really missing a fundamental part of who I am and what gets me validation. So even though my mom and I don't really talk much now, pretty much at all, it's this interesting situation where it's like, I don't feel like I'm earning love if I'm not running. So even when I'm lifting and doing all this, I could be busting my ass getting killer workouts, but there's something fundamentally just wrong that is saying, if you're not running, it's not a workout. If you're not running, you're not satisfying this itch that needs to be scratched. And I'm well aware of that. So for me, it's more than just, I get this meditative effect. I get this effect when I run. I get a high, I get endorphins. I get this, I get that. I get that, but it's like deeply rooted. And I'm well aware that if I lose the ability to run, that I better get my shit together and figure that out. But in the meantime, while I can run, I'll enjoy it and I'll understand it for what it is.
And even though you know this, there's no reason to cure yourself. I use that term loosely because you can leverage this pathology in order to stay healthy. It as long as it doesn't get crazy where you become like so obsessed with running.
Oh yeah. And it's a safe avenue for me, right? Like it's very addictive personality. Like, so I know that there's a reason I don't drink. I don't touch the stuff at all. Right. So it's just, I know that if I went down that route, it might not be good. And the same kind of thing with running. Like I understand that I get addicted, I get obsessed, and I'm well aware of it. And it's one of those things that if it has to turn and I have to pivot to something else, it's fine. But in the interim, I can leverage that. And I'm for a very colloquial way of putting it, it's a good addiction. It's a healthy addiction, as long as I don't take it too far. And what I get out of it at this point is only positive. I'm not getting anything detrimental other than, maybe it's a little concussive on the joints. Maybe it's a little too much sometimes, but it's probably better than being sedentary.
Right. And I've heard you talk about your running. You can get, what in my terms, a bit competitive in the shorter distances, but you've talked about after 5, 6, 7, 8 miles, you'll slow down to a 9-minute pace and chill.
Yeah, I'm not in it to go fast anymore, man. I think my fastest half marathon time was a hair over 1:30. It was like not, I mean, fast, but not that fast, right? Like I was never if you ask Mark Sisson, this is funny. Mark Sisson will say, if you're not running under a 2.5 hour marathon, you're not a runner. You're a jogger.
Wow. Okay, fair enough. You're a jogger. Okay, fair enough.
Impressive statement.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
No, I love that about Mark Sisson. Like he's got just this well-deserved modest ego, a little bit of arrogance that obviously got him where he is. But it's, he told me, he's like, you're a jogger.
Well, I know that name, Mark Sisson. What book did he write?
He's the Primal Blueprint. He was like the
yes, okay.
He created Primal Kitchen, sold it to Kraft Heinz. So all the salad dressings, the ketchup, Primal Kitchen is all him. He created that. Very inspiring guy. Like he was number 7 in the world top marathoner at one point, but he was president of the World Triathlon Organization. Dude is a beast. And then he
sold home?
Miami. And they sold to Kraft Heinz for $100 million back in, I think, 16.
Dude looks like a beast. It kind of looks like him right here. It's what Joe Biden would look like if he was yoked.
Shit. Joe Biden on TRT. Holy shit, it is Joe on TRT.
The chicks, the abs. He's just looking fantastic.
Wow. That girl's a little old for Joe, Uncle Joe. But other than that,
this guy looks great.
Wow. Yeah. Oh my goodness, look at that back fat. What would the Liver King say?
Oh,
I'm just joking, Brian.
That's
I'm
awesome.
Just joking, Brian. I love that guy's body's beautiful.
How old did you say he was?
I actually don't know. He's got to be early 60s, mid 60s. I don't know.
Dude, that's about as good as you can look as a human being.
Oh, absolutely. Look at him.
He's just impressive, man. He's just a good dude. And he's all about he's so realistic with his approach on everything. And what's funny is
you met him, you interviewed him?
Yeah, he's been a friend of mine for a while. But the reason that I went out to film with him, because I flew out to Miami to film with him because I'm like, dude, he out-angled me in that. All right, so I mean,
awesome.
But
look how tight his shorts are too. His junk looks bigger than yours too.
Yeah, he might have. I don't know. Who knows? He was kind of the godfather of paleo. Obviously, he didn't create paleo, but he was really like the loud voice of it, of really that movement. And and I've been seeing where is diet going? Okay, we've got all these crazy tribes that are now just pissed off at each other, and it's fucking hilarious. And I'm like, dude, watch this. We're going to make a big circle right back to paleo. I think we're heading there. I think that's what's happening. We're going animal based, and then people are like, well, animal based plus fruit. Well, animal based, maybe a little bit of nuts because it's what our ancestors would have. Oh, eventually it's going to be well, just live fucking close to the earth. Well, okay. Then eventually it's going to be just don't eat processed food. Okay, cool.
Why aren't you supposed to eat? What's wrong with processed meat? Why can't I eat packaged turkey?
I eat packaged turkey. I just have rules for the ingredients in it, right? I try to avoid the nitrates. I try to avoid the sodium phosphate. I have indicators, right? Carrageenan, if you look at it and there's potato starch added to the meat, it's fuck you. I don't want that.
Right.
But it's
so I want the one that just says turkey, and then when I pull it out, it's kind of dry and stuff.
Trader Joe's has a deli meat that's only turkey. The Applegate Farm stuff is perfectly
fine. Yes,
the
Applegate. Okay.
I don't understand. I caught shit for that because I was traveling and I posted up what I was eating when I traveled, and I was I ate a half a pound of good quality turkey as deli meat. People are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you do. Okay, so you want me to eat hotel eggs that have who knows what in them? So you're going to tell me that it would be cooler for me and it would satisfy this to, yeah. So it's, and then what's that? There's one that was sold at Costco, but I think I did so many videos about it at Costco that I think they have perpetually been sold out. So I'm pissed off. I should never mention brands in my videos that I actually personally like to eat, because then everyone goes and buys them.
And Thomas is being very humble. For those of you who haven't been over to his YouTube station, he has over 3 million subscribers, approaching 3.5 million. So he's a needle mover. If he says buy the meat at Costco, bye. Okay, you can tell me what it is offline.
So no, it's I just can't remember the name of it right offhand. It's Hill something. It's not Hillshire Farms, of course. It's Hill something. It's just the turkey that they have there, and it's literally just turkey. It's turkey and rosemary, because they use rosemary as a preservative. So whenever you see something that has rosemary in it, it's not. And then they're like, oh, it's a Mediterranean flavor. That's bullshit. It's not Mediterranean flavor. They add rosemary in because it's a preservative if you use rosemary. But
Oh,
Is it this?
No. Let me see. if I
so
can look.
so what about salami? Salami's a no.
Again, it depends. If it's like crappy, like
Columbus,
regular,
Columbo,
or-
that one with like a pound of it, and it's just in the plastic wrapper, and there's just
trying to find it.
I used to do work with Columbus meats.
Yeah.
CrossFit work.
Yeah. I did warm-ups for the whole entire plant.
Are they based out of Livermore?
No, they're in Hayward. Like the far side. Union City more than
You're
Hayward,
starting
but-
to look really ethnic as your hair gets longer, Souza.
Cool.
Yeah, you look like you look like the kid on the Munsters who grew up a little bit.
Well, I shaved from this morning's show. Kid from the Munsters.
Oh my gosh.
He's got that.
So Thomas,
I think it's a company called Originals, like Dietz and Watson, I think is like where they had it at Costco. And it was, if you get, it's like the only deli meat, it's like says Originals. Like, you know,
so basically, you're saying that you think it's okay to eat that stuff every day.
No.
Sorry to be
I
that
mean,
guy.
I don't know.
Is-
I guess it'd be fine. Like this stuff, like literally, okay, I'm pulling it up.
Like
I
it just
think-
says turkey and salt on it, and that's it.
Literally. So
Yes.
it's like, okay, well, is it processed? Well, what isn't processed? So my definition of processed, I don't have an actual definition, but I'll give you the explanation, is like when it has a bunch of freaking Frankenfood crap in it. Like when it's, you know, like everything nowadays is like processed, unless you're going out and picking a damn apple off a tree that you harvested from seed. It's probably got a level of harvesting to it. Like even the organic apples, they'll sometimes coat in like the you know, peel with wax, right? It's like there's processing. So processed foods aren't really a problem. It's when they're processed to become hyper palatable, like crazy.
This
you
word
know,
ultra processed.
Yeah, or I don't even know. I mean, it just whenever it's made to be hyper palatable, like because processed foods are designed to get you to eat more. But then there's like process where it's like this is just reasonable processing. Like when you kill a boar or something out on a ranch and you take it to quote unquote processing, it's still called processing. So it's technically
True.
processed, right? So
Okay,
it's
so
kind of
maybe I'm
semantics.
using the wrong word. We got to look for fewer ingredients then. If you're going to eat out of a plastic bag, make sure it says turkey and like salt. There's not a bunch of words like that you don't know what they are, or this word nitrates.
Agreed. Well, I mean, even nitrate, there's nuance there, right? This is where my channel gets frustrating for people, is because I try
already
to
want to
give,
kill myself.
yeah, I try to give like thoughtful acknowledgement to like the proper nuance, right? And it's in an effort to, like, as my channel's grown, I'm like, I've got a lot of responsibility to not come across one-sided on this and really look at both sides. But sometimes that paralyzes people. So sometimes I'm like, I should just go back to being a fucking charlatan and just like.
I'm sensitive to that word these days.
I know. No, dude, we all
Triggered.
are, and it's overused. It really is. It's like misinformation.
That's the only bad part about Derek's video, the charlatan, in my opinion. I didn't like that part.
That was very defamatory. Like I feel like that was. I was actually expecting. This is gospel truth. I was expecting my image to pop up when he was talking charlatans, and he was like going through the list because of my stance as a proponent, not even a dogmatic pusher, but a proponent of intermittent fasting and a proponent of a lower carb diet. I'm called a charlatan every day. So I'm like, we have like an overuse of that word that is nonsense. Like it's just, if someone disagrees with your way of thinking, you're a charlatan. If someone has sponsors, you're a grifter. It's like, this is bullshit. Like, so I'm being punished because I'm a good business person. Like, wow. When I was growing up, people that had brands knocking on your door, that meant you were a good person to be in bed with. Like, what the hell? So like, I don't understand that. Like, how many athletes want to have sponsors? Like, just because I'm in a media position, right? And I'm not going to like turn this on me and like make it me victim. But
Please.
Point is that the charlatan thing, like, I agree, that is not cool. Like it's, but, and not even necessarily with Derek's video. It's just in general, like or just if something you don't agree with, you call it misinformation. Like what? Like that's just, we just can call misinformation on something we don't agree with. Someone said said it on like my cold plunge reel that I posted today. I just deleted the comment. I'm like, fuck this. Like this is misinformation because it's me getting in a cold tub, like with no scientific, like nothing, just me getting in a fucking cold tub. Like this is misinformation. What the hell? Like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah. That's
I also think that there's this that
you should change the
has
title
to-
of this video to Thomas is a charlatan. Thomas DeLauer is a charlatan.
there has
That's a
to
good
probably get more.
clickbait. Yeah.
without context, relativity, and perspective, so many in recognizing the spirit in which things come out of. I could tell you that running's good for you, and there's 1,000 people who could jump down my throat saying no, it leads to injury. And it's like, well, anytime you try to change your your metabolic health, you're going to have to take risks for orthopedic calamity. And like they don't people. Yeah, I do give Derek a pass for making that video on the Liver King. I don't give a lot of people a pass for how they attacked him, because I think that's what he does, right?
Yeah.
He's not an ambulance chaser, right? That's his niche. I look around. Did he ever do a natty or not on you?
Oh yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah. How'd you do? Did you pass? Or?
Yep.
Is that like a rite of passage or something? It's like when you made it.
Were you insulted? Were you insulted?
Well, I had a. Well, no, I wasn't, because I asked for it, because I posted a video on my blood work about, it was just talking about cholesterol on my channel. Like, it was people, the keto thing, oh, cholesterol, this. I'm like, let me show you, my cholesterol is under like 150. Like, so it was a video, like I went over my blood work to show my cholesterol. And we like scrolled through in my video on my channel, testosterone. My total testosterone was like 380 on the low end, right? I'm lean, so I'm not surprised my testosterone's low. But it was like, it wasn't a hormone panel. So there was testosterone, a free test and a total test. And I made a passing comment on that. I asked for it. I was like, you can see my testosterone is not that high. Okay, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't designed to be a natty or not discussion. So I didn't have luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, IGF, GH, all this stuff. So Derek did a video about me right there, being like, this guy's full of shit because look at, he didn't do this. And I, within one day or less than a day, I contacted him and I was like, Derek, like, I'm going to go to the lab tomorrow. Like, and I will give you login credentials to my medical portal. And he was like, no way, bro. And I was like, 100%. So he's like, cool, do it. So 2 days later, we hopped on live and that video's live and we went over my blood work and he was like, I'll be damned. He's like, yeah, you're fucking natty. And
what a weird world we live in. So what a fucking weird world we live in.
Dude, so what's weird is, so what's funny is that
you guys are gay for sure. I want to tell you that. I'm going to do gay or not. And I'm going to do Derek and Thomas are gay for sure. I want to officiate your wedding. Tell your wife I'm sorry I had to come out with this. Jeez Louise.
So I knew that I was going to be filming with Derek on Thursday. So on Monday morning, I didn't tell anyone. I went out and I got like $700 worth of lab work done. And I was like, I'm just going to have this shit in my pocket because if it comes up, I ended up not getting the results until Friday morning after I filmed with Derek, but I texted him to immediately. I've got him like literally like right here again, testosterone level, even lower than last year. I guess I'm getting lamer. So it's like, I'm like a 350.
You're getting old.
Yeah. I'm at like, so I mean, I'll just read it to you. I got 351. Last year was 381 the same time of year. Reference range 264 to 916. Free testosterone 7.2 on the low end. Last year was 8.5. Let's see, scrolling down to estradiol was practically non-existent. So I have practically no estrogen, which is a result of me being so lean. So I got to do something about that. And so much for all the shit when people say, oh, Thomas, how dare you say that fiber is good or you eat flax? Flax is estrogenic. Well, it doesn't look like that on my blood work. IGF was 270. Last year it was 224 on a scale of 95 to 290. So I'm just on the high end of normal there. Yeah, it's like, and then the luteinizing.
This is recently when you went out to visit him, you had this in your pocket?
This is Monday. So, and then my luteinizing hormone was 3.4. Last year was 2.6. Follicle stimulating hormone, 4.1. Last year was 4.1 as well. So
is that the first time you met him? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
So
I don't know what any of this stuff you're saying
luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone are the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal gonadal axis. So what sends from your hypothalamus essentially to your pituitary to your balls. So if I was on gear and I just got off of it, my LH and FSH would be totally messed up. They'd be all out of whack. So the fact that those are like in a normal range, and they were also in normal range last year and a normal range 2 years ago, and I did the video with Derek, it's a fucked up world that like, I feel like I need to share medical information to like,
that's why you guys are boyfriend and boyfriend.
Yeah.
You guys are dating. Let me tell you who's seen my medical information.
It's
like my
weird.
wife.
Hey, but that was perfect because now we could clip that. We're gonna title it "Thomas DeLauer, Natty or Not, We Have Proof." All capital letters.
Well, and there's no, here, like, can I share my screen?
How I think
I think so. Yeah. And then we'll just bring it up here.
I have
and
no
what
problem.
was it? So is that the first time you've actually seen him face? Like you guys shook hands?
Yeah, I mean we've talked a lot though. We've.
Yeah.
I think do I go to present? Okay.
Like you guys are phone.
Share screen. Check this out.
Yep.
You guys are like phone friends. Like you'll actually talk to him.
Like we'll text now and then.
Okay.
He asked me, questions and stuff on the business practices on the YouTube side. He's still just a kid, like he's very mature, but he's a kid and he's just kind of learning, a lot of different practices on the media side and stuff like that. Okay. Okay. You got this?
Yeah. And if you want, you could get out of that tab. And when you go to present, when you click share screen, all the way over to the right, we'll say like Chrome tab. And then you could just share that tab if you don't want to share your whole computer too.
Oh, okay. So I'll stop that. Okay. So I go present.
Yep. And then all the way at the top of that screen, you should see one where it just says Chrome or the tab.
It just says slides. Oh, Google's no, it says present
So
slides, share screen.
Go to share screen. And then look at the top of that screen. It should give you 3 options at the top: entire screen, window, or Chrome tab.
No, unfortunately. It just says screen sharing is easy with 2 monitors.
Okay. So it probably doesn't have that option on your side, only on the host side. Okay, so share it up and then we'll pull
it. Wait. Yep, now we got it. Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, here we go.
Perfect.
We'll just go through this real quick because this is a good explanation of how things. So some of my like urinalysis, my like bun is usually going to be elevated. So say people will be like, oh my God, Thomas's glucose is high. Well, that's because I fast and I'm on keto all the time. So it's called peripheral insulin resistance. Anyway, this bun number here, that's not that unusual to be high if you've been training really hard. But additionally, this whole AST, the fact that my AST, which is a liver enzyme, is like barely out of range, 4 points out of range, which no one would even say anything about that. That's usually indicative of the fact that my kids were sick and I had a virus. So that's pretty common there.
Which virus did you have? Did you have the good one, the popular one?
No, the kids have RSV and I ended up just like picking up in a different way, right? Like it's like we don't get so this iron is pretty high, but my iron is always not crazy high, but this is where I'm just going to like iron. I don't really have an explanation as to why that's high, but this is what.
Can you just donate blood to get it down? That's what I heard you could do.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. But it's like one of those things where it's like, it's not that high. And I was up in Tahoe for the last 3 months. So iron and RBC are pretty high. Okay. This is what's awesome. People are going to be like, oh my God, Thomas has high LDL. Okay. My total cholesterol is 174. Okay. My HDL is fucking high, 63. Okay. Last year it was a 32. So it's doubled. My HDL, good cholesterol, has doubled. My LDL is 2 points out of reference range or 3 points out of reference range. So people would say Thomas has high LDL cholesterol. Well, I thought ahead. So let me scroll down and I got a different panel called a VLDL. Here we go. VLDL is your very low density lipoprotein. VLDL is the arterial plaque forming one, the bad one. Check out how fucking low that is. 9 on a scale of 5 to 40. So that means the remainder of my LDL is what's called light fluffy LDL, which is actually good LDL. So yeah, so when you get a fractionated panel, for everyone that ever gets an LDL blood test, like you need to ask for a fractionated panel because LDL does not mean crap unless you are looking at a fractionated panel and your VLDL and your light fluffy LDL. Red blood cell count.
Real quick, that plaque thing, 5 to 40, that's basically just junk that could be stuck on the inside of your arteries, right?
What's that? Where at?
The last one you just showed, it could be in a range of 5 to 40. Yours was a 9. It was the plaque LDL.
Yeah, this is VLDL, low density LDL, which is going to, when you have high levels of inflammation and things like that, VLDL will form what are called. So
if that was like 36, it'd be like, shit, you're probably clotting somewhere.
Yeah, not necessarily. It just means that you're at risk from an inflammatory standpoint with what are called macrophages, so white blood cells that come in and basically stick to the VLDL. That's a very simple way of putting it. But kind of going down, if we go red blood cell count, high in or just outside of normal, but that's the one. I was actually disappointed that it wasn't higher because I've been at altitude at 7,000 feet for the last 3 months. And I'm like, I only got to 5.91. Like people like kill to get to like, so last year was a little bit higher. So this is also just being so you want to know what's funny? The first time I went on Derek's, like this was elevated and people were like, BS, he doesn't live at altitude. Like, are you, like, it's pretty fucking obvious. Like I'm spend half my time in Tahoe, but it's, people were like, no, he's on EPO. So it's like, they couldn't say something else. They couldn't that thing. So they're like, oh, he's on, you can't win this argument. Like you can never win. Like people are going to say, oh, he falsified this, even though like we're literally logged in to walkinlab.com right now. It's okay. So meanwhile, moving on down.
By the way, if you do want to get on TRT, I know a guy, one of my sponsors is California Hormones. Use the code Sevan and we'll set you up.
That's what I talked about like with Derek. I filmed the video for my channel. I'm like, I'm totally not opposed to TRT. I think I'm creeping up on a time where I might be ready for it. But if I did it, like damn right, I just talk about it. Like, who the fuck cares, right? It's like it's not like I'm not throwing on a, like, if it's something to do to live a healthy life, which we'll talk about in a second. But anyway, here's just what I just talked about. So we'll just show it. Luteinizing hormone here. It's up a little bit from last time. That's actually a good thing. Follicle stimulating hormones, the same. Testosterone, 351. So I'm actually on the low end. Free testosterone, technically considered low.
What? Tell me how testosterone works. Okay, so I inject testosterone into me. Which part of my body grabs it and makes my muscles big and makes me horny?
It's not so much, well, there's androgenic components to that. So like how it binds to an androgen receptor. The testosterone definitely will make you hornier, but estrogen plays a pretty strong role in that too. So sex drive, like it's not as simple as people think. I had Dr. Ben House on my channel talking about this. Like, circulating testosterone isn't the same as like what you have in the blood. As far as testosterone does not necessarily mean that you have literal low testosterone, but also as far as building muscle or as far as anything goes with that, you don't need to have testosterone elevated for massive muscle building. Like, testosterone is like the master that breaks down into the various, DHT and different components in the body. So yes, it does play a role in your sex drive without a doubt, but a lot of the sex drive and the libido comes as a result of estradiol coming up to balance with testosterone. So estrogen is actually what gives us sex drive. So, well, I shouldn't say that. Testosterone gives us sex drive, but estrogen really does enhance that libido piece, which is interesting because my estrogen is like out of range completely. Like, it's below 5. So it's like, and that's common when you're lean because estrogen is formed from body fat in a lot of ways. It's aromatase. So
that means you're not horny.
Well, that's what's wild is like I have sex like 6 times a week with my wife. So
wow.
Maybe I'm just maybe it's just mental horsepower, right? Maybe I'm just like mentally putting through this shit. I don't know. But
I think sex builds on sex too. Like, have you ever noticed, like, if you have sex at night, you automatically want to have it in the morning?
Yeah. And it's just
like if you have it in the morning, you automatically want to have it at night. It's like this feedback loop.
It totally is, man. And so
like,
that's like psychological too. It's like, and also I've just noticed that when I have more sex with my wife, like, we are just a happier couple. And like, even if I'm not in the mood, sometimes I just make myself in the mood. We'll blaze through this because it's pretty much done. So insulin, like growth factor.
And you never regret it, right? You're never like that. You're never like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. You're always like, I'm glad I fucking ponied up.
IGF is nice and low. Sorry, I'm just blazing through this so we can just put this to bed. Vitamin D, right in range. In fact, on the right smack in the middle of range, like really, which is interesting because I've been a big proponent of, I don't take vitamin D supplements because I don't feel like it's the way to do it. I don't think synthetic vitamin D is the way to get your vitamin D up. Like, get out in the sun, eat eggs, eat meat, and then check this out. Like,
especially if you live in California.
This is, my C-reactive protein, which is inflammation. Look how low that shit is, 0.28. This is the shit that intermittent fasting and keto is notorious for in the literature, but I'm a charlatan if I tell you that my CRP is nice and low. And it's probably a result of just my lifestyle, a collective thing of maybe fasting, maybe keto, probably just because I do a lot of cardio and I take care of my body. Homocysteine, right smack in the middle. Growth hormone, actually on the normal range, the high end of normal. So I'm not spending $13,000 on growth hormone. Insulin, very, very low. So anyway, that's that. So people will probably grab that, do whatever they want with it, but I'm happy to have it out there. People probably make videos explaining why that's falsified or something. Who knows? Why
you're or just why you're a normal dude.
Yeah,
with discipline and hard work and good habits.
Yeah.
So you're 13 years old, and it's fascinating for people who don't understand what Northern California is like. Like it's such a trippy place, especially up where you were at. It is such a trippy place. There's a shitload of money there, but there's a shitload of hippies there. It's this weird mixture of worlds that are meeting. And you start homeschooling yourself.
So I went into independent study. So it was technically still through the school. So it means that I was able to still participate in school sports, which was cool. So I wasn't a homeschooled. I was independent studied. So once I got into my freshman year of high school, I just went into independent study, which means
what sports did you play?
Cross country and rugby. So it was now rugby was technically considered a club sport. So I could have probably done it. It was through the school, but I probably could have done it even if I wasn't independent study or if I was like homeschooled or something. But yeah, no, I was just a runner. I ran track one season, but I kind of sucked at track.
And how was that? How were your high school years? Did you have girlfriends? Did you have good friends? How was that like homeschooling?
I met my
but you
wife
played
in high
rugby?
school. Met my wife in high school. So
Oh,
I only had like one other girlfriend in middle school. It was like puppy love, little like 6th, 7th grade thing. And
yeah.
then I met my wife when I was 16. She was 14. A little bit of a cradle robber at the time, I guess. But it worked out because we're still together. But so yeah. So but high school wasn't fun for me at all. Like because I was independent study and I was only on campus for like a couple electives. Like that's how it would work. So like a couple days a week I could go into electives. And the rest of the time I was working like 40, 50 hours a week while doing school. So I was just working most of the time. And then I'd go to school and be kind of like, who is this kid? And I was always super skinny. And I was skinny, but I was like, people didn't really like bully me because I think they knew I was super fit. So they like were kind of like, maybe we won't bully this kid. He's skinny, but he's.
Were you weird? Were you
I
like
was
a weird
I was just
kid?
weird. I was
Weird?
like the shorts and hiking boots kid,
Yeah,
so
Oh shit.
shorts and hiking boots.
You just didn't care. You didn't know. You were just glad to get out of the house and make it to school.
And I was like, I don't want to sound like a dick, but like I was kind of like ahead of a lot of the kids. Like I figured out like I had to work. I had to figure out how to make money. I had to live my life. And I kind of didn't have time for the bullshit. I just didn't really care. And I got a lot of stuff out of my system when I was in middle school. Like I was dropping acid when I was in 7th grade. So
shit.
yeah, so it's like, and that's the thing where we talk about this stuff. People are gonna be like, oh my God. The point is that like I went through weird shit when I was young and got that shit out of my system. By the time I was in high school, I didn't touch any drugs. Like I smoked pot a few times, but it was like, I got that shit out when I was like young. And at the time that was like, I was like the fucked up kid. That's like weird. Like, and I was like, are people going to judge me for that now? Like, because we live in this weird society now where we might judge people for their entire past. Are you going to judge me for what I did when I was like 12?
Only if you put it on Twitter.
Yeah. And so I hope someone takes that clip and is like, yeah, here's the truth about Thomas DeLauer. Here's his childhood. Like he made massive mistakes and learned from them and built a successful career out of it. Like
Jay-Z, Jay-Z.
I just did dumb. It's not like I was dropping acid on the regular, but I mean, I'm saying like I was in 7th grade.
It was in the water in Santa Rosa, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys have to understand this Northern California place is weird. This is
and it's not
weird spot where he was raised.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know,
like
man.
communes and Buddhist places and
really weird stuff.
Hitchhikers everywhere and trucks full of marijuana driving by you. I mean, it was,
dude, it really is like that. It's like
yeah,
people don't understand how weird it is. And Sonoma, you had a winery on every corner. I lived in the east side of Sonoma, like around Bartholomew Park and Buena Vista Winery and Gunlock Pancho. And it was like, I grew up with like just drunk drivers everywhere. And like, just because they'd come out of the winery and just like, it was, alcohol was pushed as like this thing where you're not normal unless you're hammered all the time. Like, or you're not normal if you're not supporting the wineries and drinking 2 bottles of wine a night, like twisted shit, man. And people wonder why I'm like pretty anti-alcohol now. And I'm like, I'm not like opposed to people drinking, but like why I don't touch it. I'm like, this shit was crammed down my throat when I was a kid as like, you're not normal if you don't do a lot of this. It's just weird. So
my dad, I grew up working in a wine and cheese store. So like,
I have no problem with cheese.
I was surrounded by wine. Hey, what were you doing 50, 60 hours a week when you were working? You were going to,
I worked at Ralph's.
Oh, bagging?
Yeah.
Were you good bagger?
No.
No,
but I think they felt bad. Like
you weren't like excited like to get the double bags and like get all the items.
This is Sevan's dream job too, by the way. So you're stepping into something here.
I loved bagging.
No,
I bagged and did register for
I bag my own groceries now, and it irritates people up. So like because I can't go to Trader Joe's or something, and I can't just like, if there's not someone bagging groceries, I can't just stand there and not do something. Like it feels wrong where I'm just like sitting there with my credit card waiting to pay while this person's got a pile of groceries stacking up that I know they're going to have to bag. So it's like, I'm just like, well, I got to do this. But one thing that I was always really good about putting the colds with the colds, but I just like, I hated double bagging because it just was cumbersome. So I hated like putting, like if I needed to double bag something, putting the bag inside the other bag and then opening it was just like still the bane of my existence. Like I go to Trader Joe's and they're like, you're going to have to carry that from the bottom. Like, I know, because I'm not going to double bag this shit.
Oh shit.
It's like I can handle it. It's fine.
Yep, I can handle it.
Did you skate? Who gave you acid the first time in the
Yeah, I was a
7th
lot.
grade?
I had my the park rats down at the Sonoma Plaza. We called them the park rats. You could go and get anything you wanted to from them. It
Were
was
you a
like
skater? Because it was
listen,
my skater.
I was a
friends who did acid.
longboarder, so I
Oh,
was like
okay.
I was like the bottom of the barrel, like like,
Okay.
yeah. And then I was in 8th grade, and my my Sector 9 longboard that I loved so much got jacked from me, like when I was under the bridge, probably smoking pot. And I was like, and like a truck drove by and like it stopped, and I knew they took my board, and I like ran out, and I was like, oh, my board's gone, and that like snapped me out of that phase. It was like, no more skateboard. I guess you know what? I guess I better get
No
a bike.
shit. That was
I'm
the
gonna
end
get
of
a
it.
bike and go to the gym. Yeah,
Is that really when you started going to the gym?
Yeah,
Your
actually,
skateboard got stolen.
pretty much.
I want to
yeah.
hear that story.
Yeah, no, my skateboard got stolen, and then it was like because it was like 6 miles from my house to the gym, and I was, I guess, what, 12ish, and then I like it would have been a long skateboard ride, so I'm like, forget it, and it was, oh no, sorry, 6 miles round trip. I butchered that, so it was like 3.2 miles or something each way. When I got the bike, I was like, oh, now the gym's attainable, so I started going lifting, and it just was like fun though. I wasn't trying to get
But
huge.
Jim Gold's 24-hour
No,
fitness.
it's a Sonoma Fitness Factory. It was,
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sonoma would have mom and pop. That's right. It's mom and pop.
And it was my
Nice.
best friend's parents' gym. Then they sold it like when I was later in high school.
Wow. And then how did you know how to work out? How did you did you do just this normal stuff? You did
I
bench
just-
press and lat pull down machine and all that?
You know
cool
what's
stuff.
kind of funny, man, is like when you're a runner, you develop a comfortable relationship with pain. So it's like when you go out on a run, you know you're going to inflict pain upon yourself. Like there's no way around it. Like you just know it's going to happen. Like especially if you're pushing yourself, you always are just embracing pain. But there is a necessary evil that you have to get through to finally get to that painful point. With lifting, I really liked the fact that I could get through that necessary evil much faster and get to that sort of masochistic mode that I wanted to, like where I was like inflicting some pain and actually getting some peace out of it after a few reps. Like I was get there fast.
Mama does love me. Mama does love me.
Exactly.
When did you start noticing your body changing? When did you start like getting kind of into your body? When were you like, okay, shit, I'm putting on muscle, or I want my body to look like this, or?
So it was kind of wild. So when my parents were starting to go through their divorce, and I didn't really, like 12, 13-year-old, you don't really know what's going on with your parents, like, shit's not right, but something's going on, but you don't really know what. My mom was like, hey, we're going to go and, you and your sister, the three of us without your dad, we're going to go move to Italy for a while. And you're going to go to school in Italy and you're going to study art history. And it was like, wow, what a cool opportunity. Why isn't dad coming? Dad doesn't want to come. Okay. I'm going to miss dad. Yeah, that's fine. He'll be fine. It's like, so it's one of those things where it was like weird. Didn't know the whole story. I didn't know that, okay, things were starting to not be good at home anymore. And that was it. So we moved to Italy and we lived in Italy for half a year, for like 5-6 months, did a semester of school there. So I actually went through the junior college and studied art history while I was concurrently kind of enrolled in my, I guess it was 8th grade. So
was it school in English or Italian?
It was English. It was through the Santa Rosa Junior College. It was like American Institute for Foreign Studies or whatever. So we went there for a semester, and then my mom arranged to allow me to homeschool like that back semester. I think it was 8th grade. And then we go there, and candidly, like I fell in love with it because my dad's like 3/4 Italian. So I'm a fair bit Italian anyway. So it was pretty cool. And I just like really enjoyed it. Right. It's like everything about it. Our theme was when we were there, and I'm getting to the point here. When we were there, we ran either a half marathon or a marathon in every city, in a city every weekend. So each weekend we'd travel to a different place, and that's how we saw Europe. It was really cool. Like that's the kind of crazy shit my mom did.
Yeah, that is crazy.
It's just crazy. Like people would be like, "We're calling CPS on your mom. Like she's torturing you guys like this." We're like, "No, she's not. She's not forcing us to do anything." Like it was just, "You want mama's love? Like this is what I'm doing." And it wasn't quite like that, but it was like sort of underscored like that, where it's just like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. Like you guys can sit in the hotel room or something, but we're gonna go run. And you want to be pansies, or do you want to come?
Did you run together as a family?
No, I mean kind of, but no. A lot of times we ended up just doing our own thing. My favorite was like there was a cool town called Bergamo potato in Italy. That was like such a cool half marathon to run the Prato, ran Palermo, ran Napoli, Rome, Paris, full marathon and half marathon. bounced all over the place, man. Interlaken. That was like the only place when we went to Switzerland that I think I ran a 10K instead of a half marathon. So bottom line was like, we just did this in Europe, just weird experiences. Right. But
I guess you took your shirt off and some guy grabbed your ass.
No, but the weird thing is Italy, like that's the weirdest thing. It's the only place I've ever experienced where people will go run a marathon, stop halfway, smoke a cigarette, and have a cappuccino, and then jump right back.
Yeah, like at CrossFit events, they used to smoke. The teams would be smoking cigarettes at the break. It was awesome.
Dude, and they're still running like a sub 2:30. I'm like, what the hell's going on? But anyway, I actually kind of fell in love with art history a little bit, like a total cheesy weirdo, and I really liked it. And this is going to sound so lame, but I actually at that point realized like, it's kind of cool. I kind of want to bodybuild a little bit. Like this is kind of neat. Like looking at like how this is art and how the human body can actually be art. And I kind of got into it. So I started
statues, like through statues.
Yeah, statues and just their appreciation for like the human body in general, like how they would look at it from an artistic, and just sort of that appreciation. So kind of got into it in sort of a weird way. Then we had some other weird, like my mom, when I was the youngest person at the time to ever complete the John Muir Trail. So we backpacked from Yosemite to Mount Whitney. So it's 226 miles. So I think I was 11 the first time and 12. Then we did it again the next year when I was 12. And it's like, that's the kind of shit that my mom was just like, we're going to go do this. And like, people like, you guys are insane. Like you're going to go out and backpack for 14 days. And we ran out of food the first time because we didn't know what we were doing. So we went 4 days without food. And you're always supposed to pack. Anyone that backpacks knows that you always pack your emergency food is food that you despise, that you would only eat in an emergency. So we had like Vienna sausage as like a couple of our emergency. So we lived on like a can of Vienna sausages between my sister, my mom, and I for like 4 days, bumming food off of other people whenever we could. And that was like the coolest experience. And, we got caught in like this, it was just crazy storms. And then the second year, my mom was like, you guys want to go do it again? We're like, fuck yeah, let's do it again. And we did it in like 10 days or 11 days. And cranked it. So that was cranking.
You're lucky you didn't turn into a drug addict, dude. This is all like your life was so extreme that like
I've never talked about this shit publicly. You're getting the first. And I was like, I know that you pull this shit out of people, but I'm also like, you know what? If there's anything that like, I just want to like be able to talk about this stuff. And my wife's in the process of writing a book just about like our life. And because we both have had crazy just experiences and people just don't. I think I'm at a point where like I've been getting so much hate online just because I've grown so much and like I've like my brand is big and I'm just like, people think that I'm just like some pansy ass that creates YouTube videos. Like you don't know me. Like,
well, what's funny is I look at you and I just think everyone loves you. But I mean, I've also met you in person a couple of times, and you're a sweetheart of a man. I mean, it's obvious. Same with Mark Bell. I mean, when we were all at that party at Greg's house, it was kind of crazy how sweet everyone is, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just such sweet, gentle people.
I'm probably
not pansies, but gentle souls.
Definitely not pansies.
Definitely not pansies. You're no one would ever meet you in person and think you're a pansy. By the way, they'd be fucking stupid.
Definitely not.
One of my vices is I totally am a people pleaser, and I totally I'm aware of it, and it sucks. And like I really do take shit to heart when I'm like, how come I'm not making everybody happy with this content? Like I'm so nuanced, I'm so balanced, and then someone calls me a charlatan or something. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like I'm like as balanced. Like, and the fact of the matter is that like, yes, most people appreciate what I do, and they really do, and 99% of them do. But it's always the loud minority that you hear, right? And like for someone that really does take this stuff seriously, and this is like I put so much heart and so much work into what I do. When someone doesn't take the time to actually consume the content and passes judgment, it irritates me because I'm like, did you watch the fucking video? Like, really? Like, did you see that I actually meant it? And then you get guys like we since have kissed and made up, but you got guys like Lane Norton that like in the beginning, like would just watch a second of my video, turn around, plastered around. So I ended up with like this name from some of the calories in, calories out crowd that I was like an unreasonable piece of shit. And it's like, you guys like,
I don't think he comes across like a very nice man. I don't consume his content.
Well, he's come a long way. Let's put it that way. Like, and he's aware of that. Like Lane is a very smart guy and he's got a lot of history of being bullied and stuff like that. So he comes across.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Well, go figure.
When you know him, you realize that like this man's been hurt like bad. And like he and I have we're actually speaking together at Low Carb Denver, which is funny.
Oh God, that makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah. Like, well, it's funny because he's still an anti-low carb guy and I'm obviously pro low carb, but we find middle ground where we like, you know what, the shit that we actually disagree on is like 5%. Most of the stuff we actually do agree on. It's just this loud aspect. So social media is just like everything we've seen with Liver King. I mean, it's a good segue into that. Like, it's so weird. There's zero compassion for anything. Like zero compassion, and people fuck up and people do shit. And I'm not condoning what Liver King did at all. Like, he lied bold-faced to people. That's the problem here. I don't like the drugs. That fucking sucks.
Let me ask this though. Doesn't who hasn't lied? I'm not justifying it, but I don't understand. So he lied. It's more than he lied, right? What are people really upset about? That they put their faith in someone online
Probably.
And they got hurt, right?
Yep.
Or
yeah, because when you really think like, okay,
because only one of the things he said was a lie. The other 9 things he says are true. Like it's good to walk barefoot. It's good to get out in the sun.
Yeah.
It's good to bond with other human beings. It's good to exercise. I mean, all that other shit he's saying is true. I know it motivates me.
yeah,
Do you have any problems with organ meat?
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I have scientific like reasons why I think maybe we should eat proportionate amounts to what we would eat with the rest of the animal, right? Like maybe you'll say it's like, maybe you'll have
just eat 12 sets of balls.
like, I mean, who knows? I don't know if it's detrimental, but it's like, okay, if you kill the buffalo, like you would, and your whole tribe ate the buffalo, you'd probably divvy up part of the liver, or
cut the testicle into 30 small pieces.
Yeah.
Not
It's just a
both
bite.
balls.
or does
It's an app.
just the chief get the balls? Like, I don't know how it works. So
Okay, so compassion.
Yeah.
So people were hurt,
people were hurt, and I think that's what
but they don't have the self-awareness to do that, so they attack him instead. That's the mechanism.
They attack him, and it's a lack of compassion in some ways. It's also confusion, and it's confusion in the sense that people don't understand how complicated people can be sometimes, and they don't understand how complicated themselves like they are. And anyone that's ever been asked about their child, and that's the problem, is that a lot of times, like, unless you're going to therapy or unless you are in the limelight, people don't really ask you about your childhood a lot. So there's not a lot of people that like get an opportunity to articulate how possibly fucked up their childhood was and how they articulate or how they see things. So even the people that are criticizing this whole situation, perhaps people should look in the mirror before they throw stones, only because in the world we live in, that can get taken as like, oh, well, you're condoning his actions. No, I'm not at all, but I'm not condoning lack of compassion. So
yeah, that's where people are tripping. Yeah. Like, no matter how many videos Hiller makes, people go, but he lied. And it's like Hiller, I don't know if you know who Andrew Hiller is. He's this guy I hang out with a lot. So, but Hiller, every video Hiller's like, yeah, I know he lied. And, but no one can get past that. It's like the people who just can't stop staring at my nose. It's like, dude, I got a mouth and ears and other shit too.
Oh shit, you do have a big nose. Dude, you look like one of those masks, like those.
It's like a can unsee.
Now that
I can take it off. I can take my nose off.
Yeah, it's bizarre, man. Like,
what was your first reaction? Did you get angry at him, or did you want to lash out? Did you?
Well, I knew he was on gear. Like,
so you never.
I just like.
How about when you heard him deny it? Did that anger you, or no? Did you just think, oh, this man's hurting inside?
It irritated me, but it irritated me that he dug his heels in so much on it, because like, as someone that had given him my platform to share things, he came on my channel, I think right after yours. Like, you were like the first person. I think I was the second person that he went on air with.
But he did, first he did Paul Saladino.
Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't count because they know each other. Okay. But yeah, it was like,
that's what we said too.
So it was like, I gave him this platform in a very unbiased way. Like I had created a video talking about his tenets a little bit, and going into typical Thomas DeLauer biochemistry fashion. I was kind of like, explaining the benefits of certain things that he does, but also questioning why someone would eat raw liver, because it doesn't seem like you get more nutritional value. You get more nutritional value if it's cooked, because there's enzymatic actions and whatever. So I kind of brought that up. I was like, that's the part that you don't have to eat it raw, guys. Like, anyway, so his team reached out and was like, hey, we think he deserves an opportunity to sort of defend. I was like, well, there's no defending. Like, I was very neutral, but sure, I'd love to have him on. So he came on, and it was just, it was a little bit, it felt scripted on his end a little bit, because they didn't want to deviate from a certain thing. Definitely wasn't as deep as yours went.
Did you ask him if he was on steroids?
No, because I just like.
So I didn't ask him either because I don't want to put anyone in. I don't want to make people lie. Like, dude, if I'm already judging you and think you're on steroids, why would I ask you if you're on steroids? I think it's mean.
It's just, and I don't feel like, and
maybe I'm a shitty interviewer.
That's why I'm talking about it with you here. Like people are like, Thomas, why aren't you doing a Liver King video? Because it's regularly scheduled programming on Thomas DeLauer's channel, and I have shit to do and people to help and content to create.
Right.
And I'm not going to like waste, like I've got 40 people in their 40s and 50s that are just trying to not die watching my channel. And like they don't need that shit. So like, and people are like, well, your silence is compliance with this. Like,
oh God!
Shit!
I'm just
shit!
So like, you have a platform.
Did you make a Brittany Griner video too? Because your silence is violence on that.
You want to know what's crazy is when I filmed with Derek, and people are going to be disappointed, but I didn't do a Liver King video with Derek. You know what I did? You know what videos I did with Derek? I did videos about estrogen, videos about we kind of touched on it with when it's time for men to go on TRT. We did a video about fish oil. People are going to see these videos and they're going to flip that we didn't talk about Liver King. Why? Because I've had this content with Derek scheduled long before this happened. And like, I don't want my content with Derek to have a timestamp on it. Like, I don't like this is going to come and go. Like, it's going to be done. People are going to be over it in 6 months. And it's like, do I want to take an opportunity?
Business is going to survive and flourish too, isn't it?
It probably already is doing better. It's just, people don't realize that. Like, I sent Liver King I'm disappointed. I sent him a very heartfelt note after I saw Hiller's video, actually. And I sent him a very heartfelt note because I was just like, like, dude, you and I have similar backgrounds. Like,
just your childhood was that fucked. Well, you weren't getting beat up at school.
Yeah, he had some,
beat up.
I had weird shit going on, right? Like there was, and being kind of on my own since I was 13. And like, I had some empathy on a different level.
You've been exposed to some shit that a kid shouldn't have been exposed to.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's, and I've had my fair share of just weird experiences and just, gotten involved with bad people. And I just, as a kid, and I just understand people have weird situations. So I sent him a very like heartfelt note. It was just like, PEDs or not, that discussion aside, I see you, I hear you. I know you're a man on a mission. And like, sometimes the rules of war kind of get broken when you're just on a mission and you just like have your heart set on something. And I sincerely believe that you were doing this because you were on a mission. Like, if something happened to your family or your kid, like, unless people are parents themselves, like, they don't know. Like, if my kid was diagnosed with something and I had an opportunity to fix it, I wouldn't shout from the mountaintops. And I sent him a message. It was like, the reason that I started talking so much about keto and started talking about fasting is it saved my wife's life. My wife has terrible autoimmune conditions, and this shit saved her. She was fucking bedridden, and like, doctors were telling her, no, it's not going to work. Like, nothing will work. Like, no, or it's in your head. And she was fucking like practically paralyzed at one point. And it was just like, no. And we found out, and then you go down the Lyme disease route, and the Lyme disease, like, it's like, is it a real thing or not? She tests positive for that. But, grew up in Sonoma County, it's a viable thing.
She did test positive for Lyme disease?
Yeah. So
fuck, that's scary as shit.
But it's like, but you talk about Lyme disease and you got half the people will say, oh, it's Lyme disease just in your head or whatever. But like, or did you ever have ticks? Fuck, we grew up in Sonoma County. Like, it was like sport pulling ticks off of each other. And like, so it was, so the point is that like, and that, I think that's why I get so pissed off when people talk shit on like keto fasting when it's coming from me. Cause I'm like, you don't fucking know. Like, this shit saved my family. My kids wouldn't be here today. Like, so
really, I want to talk about that really quick. I have to pee. Can you hold on? Like, he's going to run a commercial and I'm going to go pee.
Yeah.
we have this commercial. So you know, what's funny? I don't know if you know this, but CrossFit fired me, but I made a commercial that sells their L1s. I don't get paid for it. That's nothing. People are like, you took money from Liver King. Well, fuck you. I got fired from CrossFit and I made a commercial. So you did dick. All right, I'll be right back. 1 minute.
All right.
You don't even have to want to do CrossFit. You don't have to want to be a coach. You don't have to want to be a trainer. If you just want the operating manual to your body, it's not just Forge and Elite Fitness. It's the operating manual to the human genome. You'll take this CrossFit Level 1 seminar and you will walk away inspired. From the second you leave, your entire life will change. You will make significant changes to your life because you are excited. You will start tweaking with your diet. You'll start tweaking with your movement. You'll start tweaking with who you hang out with. everything will take a shift. For some people, it'll be massive. For some people, it'll be a little bit. No matter what, you'll move towards a better life. Everyone is going to sense it in you that you are more accountable, more personally responsible, happier, more helpful, more thoughtful human being. And you'll be nicer to look at. You might talk too much shit about CrossFit, but
Nice.
Hey, so how fascinating is this? You have Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson. You have the Liver King and his son, and now you got Thomas DeLauer and his wife. Right? These are similar stories, right? I'm assuming you've heard about Jordan Peterson and his daughter. So when you meet, you're 16 years old and your wife is 14, and you meet her, and you're just two healthy kids.
Yeah, we're active, healthy kids. Like we're hiking all the time. We're, both into horses, and we're just, so it was like always horseback riding, always hiking. It was, super healthy. And, it was like, then we just like, everything else, life kind of happens. And then we moved to Texas. I end up kind of in a more of a corporate setting. And
together, you guys moved together, Texas, as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, we're just like, screw it, let's get out of here. Like, so and
you're not married.
We got married. Well, we did get married. So that's an interesting situation in and of itself. So I enlisted in the Air Force, and ended up. So we got married prior to that, and in boot camp, I got medically disqualified out of the Air Force because I didn't disclose that I was prescribed an asthma inhaler when I was 12. So it was like, ended up just with what's called an erroneous discharge, basically, where they're like, we shouldn't have ever let you in the first place because you have asthma. And it wasn't like, it only came up because I ended up in a hold squadron, because I kind of like, the tuberculosis tests they give you, where they like give you a pellet, they like put a pellet in your arm. And then if you get a raised bump around it, well, for some reason I got the raised bump, but I never was exposed to TB. So I got kind of quarantined for a second because they're like, oh, you got TB. But with that, then it just kind of went into this questioning, and they kind of look at medical records and everything. They're like, oh, well, you were prescribed Xanax, and so you have anxiety? I'm like, yes. And you have asthma. Like, those are disqualifying factors. So it was kind of like I was threatened with a fraudulent, and I was like, well, this definitely, like, no, like, guys, look, like I already have like qualified under Warhawk standards as far as like how many push-ups I could do, everything, like top notch 1%. They're like, it's definitely not that. And they're like, basically like, well, this is going to just be an erroneous discharge. So I ended up, it basically is like it never happened. So it sucked. I wanted to serve my country, and whatever, it is what it is. I mean, had I done that, I probably would have been a lifer, because I wanted to really like do that forever.
Were you 18 at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my wife, so we were prepared to go wherever I was going to go. My sister was Air Force Academy. So she was at the time a second lieutenant. My brother is officer in the Coast Guard. He's now, I think he's a commander now. So it's like, yeah, like come from a, like
all overachievers. All the kids turned out good.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, so we were technically married. We eloped. We never had a formal wedding. And yeah, man. And then I got out of the Air Force, or I shouldn't say that. Honestly, I don't even feel right saying. That's why I don't really talk about it much, because I'm like, I can't call myself a veteran. I can't like it would be not.
Let's just say you got kicked out for doing drugs.
Yes,
Xanax and an inhaler.
Yeah, well, the biggest one was like I went to a lot of psychotherapy when I was like 13. My parents divorced, and like there was a lot of rough stuff. So like I had a couple of years of pretty intense psychotherapy because of that.
Do you think that psychotherapy did more damage to you than good?
I don't think it did anything.
Oh, interesting.
Because I was just like I don't know. Like, I just felt like I just wasn't really doing it. I just felt like they were needling all the time, trying to put me on meds. And I ended up kind of addicted to benzos again when I was like 19, so it's like, it kind of ended up being just a problem. And it was like, then, I kind of found bodybuilding. I'm like, I want to gain a bunch of weight. So I like tried kind of bodybuilding, and that's just how I got fat. I mean, I just ended up like lifting one day a week, and my whole life went to shit. And I was like anxiety all the time. So I was popping benzos.
What are benzos?
like Xanax, benzodiazepines. Like,
Oh,
so it was a shitty
And you got
time.
up to 2. So your girlfriend knew you when you were skinny
Mhm.
little runner kid, and you blew up to 280.
Yeah, dude, it was a dark time of my life. You know, it really was. And
There's
like,
some pictures in the notes.
Yeah.
Did I send you the notes, Souza?
and people are like, how come it's only like the same 5 or 6 pictures? I'm like, well, because I didn't take a lot of pictures of myself then. Like, I didn't like myself. I didn't like the life I was in. I was never,
I actually thought it was a lot of pictures. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of fat boy pictures of this guy circulating.
there's like 6 or something. I just like, yeah. I mean, the thing was, it wasn't, my life just kind of was weird. And then I got into kind of the corporate world, kind of started having some success there, and kind of started to pull my head out of my ass a little bit. And I mean, it's a very long story. Kind of
That
just
was in Texas.
So I gained a lot of weight actually before we went to Texas. And then by the time I moved to Texas, I was on my way losing weight. So actually by the time I was in Texas, I was in the process of losing weight. So by the time we were like stable in Texas, I was kind of in that transitional phase.
And that was, you were using a ketogenic diet to do it.
Actually, I started with fasting, believe it or not. And then I went to keto. Yeah.
And fasting, meaning intermittent fasting?
Yeah,
or like
intermittent
real
fasting just worked. It just worked for me. Yeah, both for sure. Intermittent fasting on the regular, and then I was doing like 2-day fasts. So it just worked. For anyone that is someone that has an addictive personality, fasting is both dangerous, but also works really well, because it's so like, I needed to be put in a box. I'm still that way. Put me in a box. Like, tell me, there's like, just say here, like, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And it's very clean. Like, I don't like gray areas. I don't like blurred lines. It's just worked really well. So it's like, yeah, I saw like Fergie Show commented weight gainer 3000. That was kind of me. It was like I always said it was like the Cartman thing. It was like, I'm going to get big. And then I just got really fat and really depressed. And
Did
then
you drink alcohol back then?
not too much. No, occasionally what I needed to do for just for work, because I was then at that point, like kind of in the like recruiting world. So I was like, it was very high stress, commission only work, in the medical world. And then after I got my life together, after I lost weight and before I started this brand, I was part of an ancillary lab services company where I was essentially, my job was selling to doctors, ancillary lab services. So salivary cortisol testing, various fee-for-service practices within, for people to add into their practices. So I learned, having my experience on the executive side of the healthcare world and then going into more the physician side, I really learned how to articulate biochemistry to physicians. And that's where like I picked all this stuff up. I'm like, I love this stuff. And damn,
You even had to dumb it down for them.
Well, that's what's interesting is I talk about that and some people give me shit for it. And like, physicians are like, most of them are very open about the fact that like nutrition, like you do have to dumb things down for them. Like they have their Newtonian physics, like kind of look at things. And if you're thinking outside the box, like they're not afraid to admit that you need to explain different things to them, and being able to explain how to apply it in a business practice for a physician is difficult too. So with that, it was kind of like, I just learned a lot. And then that company, left that company just because I was kind of bored and they were going through an acquisition. And I was like, so
how's your girlfriend's health at this time? Your wife's
So
health?
this is, so that's why I want to, like, it was
Okay.
during this time where I started to change my life and was starting to get healthy while she was going down. And she wasn't doing the things that I was doing. And that's what I was saying, like intermittent fasting was big for me. She didn't want to fast. That wasn't a thing for her. And then insert keto. Keto really worked for me. And it was like what really, the rest of the weight just fell off. Like it was just easy at that point. And I don't want to discourage people because I know a lot of people are motivated by my story. But I think the fact that I was an athlete growing up and I was such a runner, like it wasn't hard for me to lose weight because it just, once my brain was there, it fell off. Like it was, so I am well aware there are people that struggle really, really hard. And I know sometimes my story gets out there and I don't want it to be misconstrued as like Thomas struggled. I got fat because I was stupid and made dumb decisions. And when I finally got my head out of my ass, I fixed it. And sometimes that's really, sometimes people do need to hear that because they're like, wow, I just need to pull my head out of my ass, right? But meanwhile, I think there was so much focus on work and business. I was neglecting my wife and she was getting depressed. And she was getting depressed because she wasn't having my attention as much. And her health was deteriorating in the process. And her diet was not good. And this is what she's working on, kind of writing about. And I was like, wow, like what's going on? And then it gets to a point where she's just flat out bedridden. And there was a period of time where like, she's my wife. So I'm gonna, humor her a little bit, but I think a lot of this like might be blown out of proportion. What's going on? And then it just got to the point where like she physically just could not get out of bed some days.
Any physical manifestations, like anything going on with her skin or joints swollen, or
gained a shitload of weight. Her joints were super swollen. She was, she's got some pictures up on her Instagram from years ago. You'd have to dig for them, so you probably wouldn't be able to pull them up now. But like like she looked like she was dying, like crazy dark circles under her eyes. Poor girl, like it was bad. And finally, just something hit, where it's like, okay, let's do this keto thing, right? Let's do it. And she did it. And there's a lot of obviously little things that went on in between this. So this is very abbreviated. But keto was the one thing that snapped her out of it in about 6 months.
And what is keto? What is keto?
And for us, it was very, very simple. I mean, because we really did keto in like a whole food form. So it was like keeping carbs under 30 for her. She had 0 gluten whatsoever. It was, higher protein. And at this particular time, the research was leaning more towards high fat, lower protein. Now it's kind of shifted a little more towards moderate protein, a little bit lower fat, but either way. So it was very high fat. So lots of macadamia nuts. It was lots of like chicken, lots of olive oil, lots of ground beef, lots of steak, things like that. It wasn't carnivore though, because we ate a shitload of veggies. And dude,
the premise is that you start using ketones or fat as your primary fuel. The cells do, as opposed to sugar, right?
Yes. And it's a hormetic stressor. So what ends up happening is when you have these hormetic stressors, it triggers all kinds of different things to happen because it's a stressor and you have to have adaptations. So people think, oh, keto, it's just a fad thing where you're cutting out carbs. Like, no, like it is a specific stressor. And that's why it is a lifestyle for many, but it's also a tool in the toolbox for many too. Now I've graduated to using it as a tool, right? Because I know it's a stressor. So I treat keto's like putting a weight vest on. It makes shit harder in some ways, but it also makes you adapt in other ways. So then when you take that weight vest off, you're like, damn, like what happened? So neither my wife nor I are keto full time now. We cycle in and out of it. And we were just talking about how like I've been on carbs for the last like 90 days. I'm like getting to a point now where I'm actually like not feeling as good on carbs. Time to go back to keto. Like I cycle that. I listen to my body. And that's for me just being as a former fatty. But for my wife, she'll have periods where it's like she sits me down. She's like, I have to go back keto. Like I feel little flares coming back of my autoimmune stuff. So for me, it's a lifestyle. For me, it's body composition. For me, it's mental clarity. For me, it's staving off. I made myself diabetic in that short period of time, by the way, so that I gained weight because I ate so much and was so stressed and sitting down. So I still struggle.
Can anyone be 100 pounds overweight and not be diabetic? Can anyone?
Oh, for sure. It's possible.
You can?
For sure. Yeah. For
you can be 280 and supposed to be 180 and
maybe
not be diabetic.
280, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I've seen it. I've seen it for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
not common though.
So made myself.
These fat models that I see like on Sports Illustrated or these ones that they're promoting as being happy that are 200 pounds overweight, these 105-pound women who are 310 pounds, they're all on medications probably.
Well, that's okay. So here's the thing. How do I say this without like this sounding bad? If men have to show that they're natural by showing blood work and whatever, maybe that's just the future. Maybe that's the way it is. Sure. If someone is obese and portrayed as an athletic model, I don't have a problem with that, but perhaps they should also have to show their blood work to show that they're healthy.
Right.
Because
like you're promoting this lifestyle, but you're taking years off people's lives.
Exactly. And I understand the body positivity thing. So when we put body positivity aside, that is one thing that is talking about size and that is talking about your body. Health is a different pillar. So if you can be 100 pounds overweight and you can have stellar blood work, I will hang my hat on that and I won't, whatever, all good. Like sure, I can point to evidence that says it's bad to be overweight. But if you show me that you're healthy, then who am I to judge if you're a big person, right? But if you are like very, very morbidly obese and your blood work shows that like you're dangerously unhealthy, that's a serious thing, right? So,
and you're promoting it.
Yeah, it can be scary, man. It can be scary. Like, and I try to again, when we talk about the world of compassion, like I try to really be compassionate to that situation. Like there's some people that really, 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 really struggle, right? So,
I want to be compassionate to it too, but it's like, hey, I recognize a park full of heroin addicts when I walk by. and the park's just full of people shooting drugs.
Yeah.
And that's what some of these Instagram accounts have become. They've become a haven of codependency, of people supporting each other's Twinkie habits, and like, hey dude, like you're shortening your life. And they're doing so much damage to their body at such a young age that they've bent the frame of their car. You see 12-year-olds and you're totaled. You'll never have a regular body again. You've taken it so far out of whack, and that sucks.
No, totally. It's definitely, it's a tough one, because it's like, I get what they're trying to do, but it's being done in a way that's promoting something not safe. So
what, your wife, how quickly did she get better?
I'd say it was 6 months to a year. And like, I got my wife back, man. It was like, I didn't realize in that time how like we didn't have the fun we used to have, like I've been with, it's going to be I think it's going to be 18 years that we've been together this January. And I'm like, man, I thank my lucky stars every day. So it's just because like, she's my buddy. She's my best friend. She's my, it's like, it's just awesome. And she's fucking hot.
Yeah, she is hot.
So it's like, I don't want her to go back to being like that. Like that wasn't.
Were you scared that you might lose her?
I don't think I ever got scared like death wise, but here's the thing. But like when she was so unhealthy, like she would go to the dentist and they would give her like the shot of Novocaine, and she would get a reaction to the Novocaine because her body couldn't even handle that. And she'd start going into like weird convulsions. So her body was so fragile and messed up. So it's like, that's just an example, right? So like it got to the point where like she'd just simple things like going to the dentist would scare me, because I'm like, is her body so fragile that she can't even handle this? And, so I don't talk about that on YouTube because I get nervous about like the algorithm, and like, I don't want to make claims. Right. So I don't so I don't say it on my channel, because I can't lead people astray and say, this is going to solve all your problems. And that's what a lot of the carnivore community and stuff will do, is like they get cured everything. But that's a ticking time bomb from a content perspective before that gets taken down or you get shadow banned or something for that. So it's because it's, and I actually understand, like, I know it sounds bad for me to say that I understand that, but like, you can only like, you can't make crazy claims. Like that's just life.
Even if they're true,
that's what's messed up is like, so, but especially when you have a big platform, it's like, if I talk about my experiences and my life experiences and my family's experiences on my platform, it's construed as like news media. Right. So it's like, and that kind of circles right back to this whole thing, is like the compassion piece is like, people forget that we are humans on the other side of this shit.
Right.
And like,
right.
You scroll Instagram, you scroll TikTok, you watch YouTube, and you're like, I'm a 2-dimensional figure. Like, no, like I put my pants on the same way you do every morning, Right. But I guess, flash forwarding to kind of get through all that, it's like, it changed our life. And then the fact that I've been able to build a great business for our family off of something that saved our life and made us a happy family. And now I've gotten to help a crap load of other people. It's pretty darn cool.
Did you even have one YouTube video during this? Like where's this launch of your YouTube channel and your wife doing keto?
No. So I was like 2016, 17 is when we really started talking about it and putting it out there on YouTube, cause there was,
when did the healing go on for her? What year was that?
Would have been like 2012-ish. Like was kind of like
your life really is parallel to Liver King's life.
Yeah. It's like, people are going to be like, I knew it. Thomas and Liver King, they've been in cahoots this whole time. Yeah. So
that's crazy. And it's funny. I said something to someone about, at first I got really frustrated with how Paul reacted. And I actually sent Paul a text tonight being like, hey buddy, I hope you're okay. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner, because this was probably hard for everyone. And he was close to the Liver King too. Yeah. And I know that his business, is tightly intertwined with Brian's. And I don't know if you know my story, but in a nutshell, I had done carnivore for like 4 or 5, 6 months, and my fingers and toes started getting cold, and I started hearing like my heartbeat a little bit. And literally within hours of me finding these pills, this is before there was even a Liver King, I figured this out through Paul Saladino, my shit felt better.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need organ meat. I'm missing some vitamins. Something's going on.
For sure.
But Then I start seeing all these people piling on, and every one of them I find out has some, like when I saw Joe pile on, I said something. I'm like, I can't believe Joe Rogan's piling on this hard. And someone started telling me about his issue growing up.
Yeah.
And then you said Lane Norton had some, rough childhood experiences.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh shit, this is just a shitload of fucking hurt men.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, it's real. I mean, I don't think that people, again,
and I'm the first to say, don't be a pussy, but also like, these are hurt men who are reliving some of their hurt because the Liver King let them down in this way, that they like, it's just another man who let them down. It's kind of like psychology 101 shit.
Well, sometimes we get jaded by like, we need to David Goggins our way through everything,
Right.
And I'm all for pushing hard. Seriously. Like, I mean, you're talking to someone that like, I push it probably way too hard in every aspect of my life, but like, you can also push it hard in your retroactive analysis of your life and understand like why you make the decisions you make. And like, why is no one asking these questions about Liver King? Okay. And I'm going to go on record and say like, it fucking sucks that he dug his heels in and bold-faced lied. And a lot of people, for whatever, like the people that are hurt by it, I try to look at the same thing. Like, what happened in your life to why you are so hurt by this? And I think with social media, people hang their hats so much on on these figures. And in case of Liver King, like he's a real person, but he's cartoonized this image. So people forget that even that it's a cartoon, but it's a real person, but they have hung their life on it. And you also have to remember that a lot of these people are really hurting from a health perspective, and they turn to him. And we are in an athletic arena where we are exposed to people that do PEDs, and we're exposed to this and we see it. So we're a little bit more numb to it. Okay. I've been in the fitness industry a long time. Like I've been at dinner tables with people that are juiced to the gills. It doesn't matter. Like, as far as like, I still look at Stan up, shouldn't call people out. Like Stan Efferding's a big dude, right? Like he's such a good friend of mine. Of course he's on gear, but like, I look at him in the eyes as the same way I would look you in the eyes, the same way I'd look my wife in the eyes, and it frustrates me because people just make decisions, but like they were probably just very hurt by the fact that this person is doing drugs and lying about it. And this is one thing I did talk about with Derek is like, granted, Liver King was on a lot of stuff, but what I don't want to have happen with this is where people start judging good people that are going to doctors and are on testosterone replacement. Like, cause that's happening now, where people that are like good people that aren't necessarily athletes, they're 40s, 50s, and they're going to their doctor and they're getting on TRT to restore hormones to normal levels in a world where testosterone levels are plummeting. And it's, in my opinion, perfectly acceptable to go to a doctor and restore your levels. You wouldn't bitch at someone for having low thyroid, going to the doctor and getting their thyroid levels restored to normal. Again, that's not Liver King. But I'm talking about like the fact that now this umbrella.
I feel the opposite of you, Thomas. I feel like it's more acceptable than ever now.
Well, no, it's not.
I mean, I don't have a good pulse on it though either.
Yeah, it's acceptable in our industry, but like, it's not like it's acceptable as a way to, how do I put this? It's acceptable as a scapegoat sort of thing to not work hard. Okay. So it's like,
I see what you're saying.
It's like people want to know, they want to hear everyone's on TRT because it helps them understand that this is why maybe they can't do X. But in reality, anyone that is on TRT knows that it doesn't like change the game like that. It puts you at a point where maybe you feel better and you feel more alive, then you feel like it can be a catalyst for other things. So yes, it's more acceptable in the sense that it's just more discussed, but it's like I think the problem that people are having mostly with Liver King still isn't about the drugs. It's about just the outright, lying. And so, I mean, when I go back, like, I'm a little pissed off actually that I sent them this heartfelt message and he totally read it and didn't reply. But yeah.
Don't be that guy. You don't care. Like, whatever. He read it. He's happy.
Well,
come on.
I was like,
on.
No acknowledgement. I guess you're right.
Yeah,
See, that's I need people like that to keep me in check.
No, you're good. You did the right thing. That's all that matters.
I was just gonna say that's all. Sometimes I'm like, I don't need the validation out of this.
No. He didn't respond to me either. By the way, he didn't respond to me.
He's also traveling like a madman right now. I know he's on it, and it's just Yeah, it's a weird situation, and who knows, man? Like maybe
He's damaged, dude. He basically has said what probably I want to say. I'm just making this up. I have no proof of this. I guess that 50% of the dudes who are on fucking the kind of gear that he's on are fucking insecure, scared little boys. The shit that he did to his body to get that big is some sort of fucking mental delusion. And he probably had one of the largest functional bodies around. I think a lot of these guys that are this big don't even move as well as him. But at some point it becomes fucking crippling. And we grew up in this era where every single magazine we looked at, when we flipped through them, it was pictures of guys and they showed the whey protein they took, and we all knew there was no way we were going to get that big.
Yeah.
But when you read in there that it said that he was concerned about his back fat, that's when you knew. Soon as Derek read that, that's when like your heart of compassion for him should have opened up. Like his back fat. I mean, what is he, a fucking like a 12-year-old girl? Yes, he is actually.
Yeah.
And actually 50% of those guys are. And it's fucking it's bizarre.
It's weird. Yeah. And it's
but normal, right?
Normal,
because it's
normal.
hidden. Like
and
the vast majority of people, I think that there's millions of dudes out here like this, and women.
If that email was okay, I mean, like, who knows? Because I'm going to give also, who knows? Like, if that, like, it's still weird that email like was like sent from his like company email address, and like, I don't know. Sometimes some red flags go up, but
you mean like it was a setup, like Andrew was saying, like the whole thing is a plan?
Possibly. Who knows? Yeah. I mean, he's also a very smart marketer, smart guy. I hope it's not.
I don't think it is, but I do think he's very relieved. I do think he's like, it reminds me of when I got caught cheating once as a kid. I was so relieved.
You know what's crazy is like, if you look at him like a year and a half ago, he looked so much better.
Yes. Yeah. He looks like he's aged. He looks like he's aged,
and he's like kind of bloated, and he's bright red, and like when his channel, and like the smaller beard, like I was like, he was like a handsome dude that was like jacked, and he actually didn't look crazy juiced to the gills then. And like the character he's gotten so much bigger, and that's what kind of like led me. I was like, okay, well, you're getting bigger. You're doing all this stuff. So, I mean, anyone that's kind of been in the industry knows that he was probably on some stuff. But you just don't judge. Like, Mike O'Hearn claimed natural forever, like whatever. It's just like, sometimes you just let this stuff go. But when you start digging your heels in and you start saying and making almost a public statement outward against it, that's where it's just like, I think people question the moral compass. I question the moral compass too, but I also do with an element of compassion, because once again, we come back to like, what happened? Like, so does not make it right. It does not change that. It does not at all. And he should be held accountable for that. But my message out to the internet is like, can everyone just like have a little compassion? Because like, are you going to, like, if someone messes up and says that, they've been on drugs or whatever, if it was heroin or something, someone would say like, oh man, that poor guy, like he's coming back from this, right? People turn to any drug, PEDs, recreational, for similar reasons. So in a lot of ways, Brian could have gone down a much worse route, and he could have done something where he really hurt himself, right, and hurt those that are close to him by hurting himself. Fortunately, he went in a way that still used drugs, but he tried to better himself. Now, that doesn't absolve him of the issues of, whatever other issues here are like public facing.
Right.
But I ask people to just like, before throwing stones, just stop and breathe and realize that this is a guy that had a fucked up childhood. And would you say the same thing to someone that's recovering from heroin?
And I think he's done it. It's funny because people want to talk about the net of damage he may have done to little boys who outed him, who followed him. But think of it now, two ways. one, contextualize it. If he fucked up, let's say he fucked up a bunch of people who followed him because they thought they were going to get that big. Think about all the people he helped, like me, making me realize, hey, if I'm going to eat a shitload of meat, I need to incorporate organ meat. And I think that's the vast majority. And then on the other hand, think how amazing this really is that now we're going to see his journey of a man who claims he's going to try to go natural. I think that's going to be really hard for him. I think that's going to be extremely hard for him. And I don't blame him if he also reneges on that. Reneges is a little strong, but if he has to find the balancing act of getting off slowly. Did you watch the Andrew Schultz podcast? He was great on it. Those guys were kind of dicks to him.
Of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were kind of dicks to him in the first 20 minutes, and then you could see he won them over.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to, I think it can end up being a message for like, if he goes natural, it might, he might need to cruise with TRT for a while, and that might just be, that's the reason that I haven't gone the TRT route, right? Like, it's like, I've told people before, like
you're too young. Why would you want to be committed to that your whole life? Yeah,
exactly. It's the commitment thing. Like, I am not opposed to it. It's not going to be a matter of if, it's when. Like, for me, like, I'm in this industry where I see the benefits of it. The benefits of TRT can largely outweigh not going on TRT and having plummeting hormone levels as you get older. There's some places where like a little medical intervention like that can be very great, but I'm 34. Like, I'm done having kids, but like, I kind of want to see how far I can push it. And until I'm symptomatic, like my testosterone levels are relatively low, but until I'm symptomatic, why? And even if I was symptomatic, I'd probably wait until I'm at least 40. So it's, that's just me.
A friend of mine who many years ago, I'm making this up, but it's at least 20 years ago. I want to say 30 years ago. He had two children and 4 relatives die in the back of a pickup truck accident. So they were 2 of his kids and then two kids that were related to him. This guy went on to live a very, very successful life. He's one of the nicest, most brilliant men I've ever met. Became very wealthy. He was a physician. He got on TRT recently, about a year ago. And he said, Sevan, it's the greatest thing I've ever done. People should be getting on TRT instead of taking fucking any kind of psychiatric drugs. Yeah. He goes, I was fucking suicidal. I cannot fucking believe how much this has changed my entire outlook on life. Yeah. And it was crazy because I'd never even heard that. Well, I'd heard that from some of my friends who were professional athletes who were doing like anabolic steroids. They're like, dude, the mindset shit is crazy. You think you own the world.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that's it's like, rather than self-medicating, right? Like, so
right.
That's the thing
better than drinking or smoking weed or like you're saying, buying psychiatrics on the street.
And, under the supervision of what I would caution people is if this video blows up and gets lots of views and tons of people say it, I guess what I would caution people is like, there's a lot of docs that hop on that say like, yeah, cool, I'll prescribe you, TRT, but that don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it because they know there's a demand. Do the due diligence and get with a real good hormone doctor that can like keep things in check, because like it's you're messing with hormones, which can be a cascade of other issues. And it's, yeah, man, rather than going out and drinking, rather than like popping Xanax. I mean, again, like I have no problem. Like being someone that was taking a couple of milligrams of Xanax a day at one point just to deal with life, it was like, if I got to a point where I was getting super depressed again and I looked at my hormone levels and I'm like, well, TRT is an option, I would go to the doctor and I'd hop on TRT before I would ever start popping Xanax. Right. So it's, there's a, yeah.
So you knew that too. You've heard that too.
Oh yeah. Oh dude.
Yeah.
Like tons of people. And just because like I'm in an industry, a specific vertical of the industry that sees me as like, okay, Thomas is like this holistic, super down to earth, eat as much like close to the earth as possible type stuff. For me to say that TRT is okay seems like a complete like contrast to the kinds of stuff I preach, because I do encourage people to do as much with what's available naturally as possible. But I also worked in the medical system. I worked with physicians. I was in healthcare. I have a vast appreciation for what proper medicine can do. Like Western medicine is effing cool. It's just like has to be done right. And it has to be like, there's goods and bads with everything. Like, so anyway, it's just, I'm going to have to wrap up here soon because I got to help my, I think I told you, like my son's got that RSV crap right now. And I don't want to leave my wife dealing with him for too much longer because he's not feeling too great. So I had to hop upstairs, but it's.
Let me ask you one question real quick. When did you pivot did you already have kids when you pivoted to YouTube?
No. Kids my son's 5. So that was 2000. He was born into 2017.
And how long did you plug away on YouTube before? Were the first couple of years scary? Not scary, but like, fuck, I don't know if this shit's going to stick.
Yeah, I got kind of fortunate because it really took off relatively quick because I had gotten on some magazine covers and stuff, and that built a Facebook platform for me. So then it was back when you could link out from Facebook to YouTube without the algorithm totally squelching everything. So like I had a decent Facebook following from all these magazines. So it was like, okay, I started doing videos on YouTube, pumped them out to Facebook. And honestly, some of that was a little bit of luck and timing. So it was like,
it's because you make good content. You had a good following, but you could have fucked it up. I've seen a lot of people with big followings fuck it up, and you didn't fuck it up because you make good content. I don't need your help telling me that.
Hopefully I didn't fuck it up by being very, very candid in this conversation.
No, we can even change your name. We can change your name.
No, man, I think people need to hear this stuff. I kind of want to go on like a little bit of a more candid podcast tour and let people kind of see. People need to know a little bit more of like my history and stuff like that, because I think they just see.
Is the Liver King kind of the catalyst for that too? Like you see that and you're just like, hey, okay, sorry. One more question. I know you guys, I had this one question I want to talk to you about awareness. I got to have you back on because I want to talk about cultivating self-awareness because I know you're extremely self-aware. But before, what do you think was the catalyst that made you compassionate? When was that introduced to you at a young age, or was it after you had kids? After you had kids, maybe?
After having kids.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yep. I was in a bubble, man. I was like I had blinders on most of my life. Lone wolf trainer, lone wolf like lifter, lone wolf runner. Business was put me in a dark room and let me just plug away. The world didn't really exist around me except for my immediate family. I definitely wouldn't call myself a narcissist because I always had a level of like what Chris Voss would call tactical empathy. When you are 13 and you're kind of forced to just figure shit out on your own, like you learn to understand tactical empathy, and you learn to understand what makes people tick. It's the only way you get through life. It's the only way. It's how you cope. You learn people's body language. You learn you learn how to sell yourself, because you have to kind of just make shit happen for yourself, right? And survive. And so with that, but I also, this is funny, my wife will attest to this, is like, I grew up with 18 horses, right? 46 goats, 160 English Angora rabbits on our property, 3 dogs, just shitloads of animals. I grew up with animals, and I grew up tending to the animals. And anyone that raises animals will tell you that like you learn emotion and body language, especially with a horse, because you learn to read that animal that could kill you, right? So it's like you learn. My wife's, we've always been able to like look at someone in the eyes and be able to know exactly where that person stands, even before I had compassion. So the empathy that I had was more so empathy to understand what this person's motives are in a very tactical way. And how do I navigate that situation to help this person, but to also survive and help myself? And then I had kids, and it's like, damn, like this undying, just inexplicable feeling like here of just like, I will do anything for you. And then through meditation and practice with that, I've kind of realized like, dang, I look at other people and I see a 4-year-old boy and I look at, men on the street and I see a 4-year-old boy talking to his mom, asking for his sippy cup. You know what I mean? And like, it's just like, it gets me a sense of like, damn, like, dude, like you're just a dude. And like, you were a kid at one point, and like, you were just a baby, and you were someone's pride and joy maybe. And it just like makes me realize like, fuck, we are a jaded, angry group of people out here right now. Cause like people just need to see that shit for what it is.
Dude, brilliantly said. I want to tell you that I don't take it lightly that you decided to come on this show. I know you could have gone to a lot of places. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to come hang. We got a dedicated crew here, good listeners, and I appreciate you. And I guess from here on out, I'll just start trying to schedule our next podcast for sometime in the next 6 months.
sounds good, my man.
All right, brother.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Tell your wife and kids thank you for sharing you this evening. And
For sure.
we shall chat again soon. If there's anything you need, please let me know.
All right, brother. Thanks,
Okay.
you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Wow. I want to turn the TV on behind me because I want to start watching. The UFC hasn't started yet, right? It's just the prelims. I want to watch the pay-per-view. Fuck, dude. That needs to be that could have been a 4-hour podcast. Could have been a 4-hour podcast. I don't know. I don't get a crying credit. Yeah, I don't get a crying credit. I agree. But it could have been. How about the fact when he started sharing all his blood work? I was like, that was already, I was drilling in. I was going to start drilling in, looking for some tears. But he started talking about his blood work. He is so, I get mesmerized by his stories in a good way. Like I'm listening to an audiobook, but he's kind of like freestyling. He's like a freestyle rapper, but a freestyle storyteller. Yeah, he did. He knocked it out of the park. Yeah, he's smart. Yep, he's good. Sevan, when are you going to invite me out to Cali? Anytime, brother. Anytime. Well, here's the thing. Like, my shit can just change from second to second. I never know what I'm doing except for the podcast. I'm actually in Newport tonight, as you guys know, and someone was going to introduce me to this New York Times, best-selling author, one of the most politically connected people ever. I don't even want to say their name, and help me get politicians on. And I'm like, hey, I can't. I got Thomas DeLauer. My podcast always. I didn't get to ask him about autophagy. We didn't talk about shit, but man, it was good. I mean, we talked about a lot of shit. God, his childhood must have been wild. Sevan, come to Wadapalooza. Sevan, you can stay with me and Gabe. Where am I going to set up my podcast? Where are my kids going to stay? I'll let you be the big spoon. You're a good dude. You're a good dude. Yes. No, you're going to work for me. What are you talking about, Bruce? What are you talking about? You can do it all. You can work for both of us. Okay. I wish Souza didn't have to leave. I wish Caleb was here. I appreciate you guys. What an exciting night. Oh, tomorrow morning. They don't know it yet, but I'm going to send Jamie Latimer and Jason Grubb a link. Probably we're going to start late tomorrow, probably like at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then I think at 9 o'clock, that kid's coming on, the kid from France who climbs the building, the free climber. We'll check in with him for like 30 minutes and see what he's doing. Alan, be nice. Saying I should be quiet. Yeah, Jamie is killing it. Yep. I think she's going to make a podium. Oh, Jessica, are you there also? Are you at the Legends? God, I get everyone so confused. Jessica, you know who you look like in your avatar picture? Did you see the mom from Sons of Anarchy? Just like that with that hair. I mean, I can't see her face too good because it's so small. She was on she was on that other show too, the funny show. I never watched that show. What was that show? I forget. No, sadly. Oh, no, you're not competing. Oh, okay. Something family. I'm asking Jason to get on the podcast. Oh, hey, you're with him right now? Mayhem Legends just finished. Oh, you mean tonight? Oh, no, I'm watching UFC now. I'll talk to him tomorrow. Tell him I'm going to bug him tomorrow. I'll send him a text when I get off. All right. Thomas DeLauer, what a stud. Well, we'll try to get him back on again. Very generous. I'm flattered that he came on. I'm flattered that all of you guys are here on a Sunday night, Monday night, Saturday night. Alan, always good to see you, brother. I'll talk to you. Send a link. No, I'm going to watch UFC. Just tell Jason I love him and I'll see him in the morning. Okay. Mr. Grubb, Jamie Latimer, I'll see you guys in the morning. Bye-bye.